ever heard of. Hey everybody, welcome to the Common Folk Podcast with Ben, Morgan, and Andy.
Welcome to the Common Folk Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome.
Yes, sir. And ma'am.
Got to crank up these mics a little bit.
That's right. You better say that.
I know. Got those mics going over there?
I think we're ready now.
Oh, right. Just now?
I had to hear it.
We got the prep down, though. We're prepped. We're ready.
Okay. We're not going to double record or anything. That wouldn't be good.
No.
Okay.
So you guys have been out of town last couple days here.
Yeah, we had a good time.
Yeah?
Went to Panama City Beach.
Panama City.
Doesn't that name just even sound cool?
I mean, yeah, that just the name makes me think of like 80s rock bands and just partying,
Does it?
Neon colors, cheap beer,
yeah.
The whole 9 yards.
Have you ever been there?
I had no, I don't think so. Never been.
There's so many beaches in Florida.
Right.
I mean,
I've been all over Florida though. Actually got married in Dundee County in Miami.
you did?
Yeah, Ashley and I got married.
You just
in the port of Miami.
Eloped?
It was a planned destination wedding.
Oh, so fun! I didn't know that.
Yeah. We
really
had it all planned out, and we actually to save some of the headaches, rather than going to the Bahamas and getting married there, we just got married stateside in the port on the cruise ship before we took off.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Oh, so you took a cruise and did it. Okay, so how many, just a bunch of family booked the cruise? And
We ended up having a wonderful time, a great party, like 26 people.
Dang.
So it was just big enough, but not too big.
Yeah.
And it also was kind of cool. They let us, like our party got on the cruise before everybody else. Like we got this special pass because we were getting married. We had this thing going on.
Okay.
So we got to get on there a few hours earlier than everybody else. And after, we got done with the boring part, the wedding, we were able to just go and enjoy.
That's fun.
Worst.
Yeah, aren't they the worst? So, no, it was. It was a lot of fun, and it was just a quick 3-day type cruise out to the Bahamas and back. So, yeah, it was really good.
Good. Yeah.
So Panama City Beach, like apparently that's two separate towns,
it is?
I think.
Oh. So you always have to put the beach on there if you were actually at the beach.
I think so. I don't know.
Okay.
Just some Midwesterner down in Florida. I don't really know, but I think that's the deal.
Okay.
Is that they're two separate towns or whatever, but that's in the Panhandle up there in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And on the Gulf, obviously. Some of the folks who listen to this might know some of the farm-focused brands, and the Field Rose guys, Randy the farmer, and Hamiltonville Farm.
Hank, yeah.
They are right down there. Like they were within, I think, like an hour of where we were.
Okay.
Wow. But unfortunately, we didn't get the opportunity to run and see them. But yeah, good folks down there. And that's what's crazy about that area of Florida. I think just us up here, what you think of Florida and the coast and all this kind of stuff, and like, beach bums and all these kinds of things. You have this like
mental picture.
Yeah, of what it's like down there and what the people are. And it's country, man. Like there's a lot of
that Florida Georgia line area, right?
There's a lot of farm folks down there. There's a lot of rednecks. I mean, there's a lot of
That's true.
Hey, wear that with a badge of honor. I'm down with it, but it's like it's I just feel like it's not what you picture for some reason.
It's a certain flavor of redneck. Can we say that? I mean, I think Nebraska's earned that redneck or blue collar type label. And I think for a lot of Florida, you're right. And it's just parts of Florida that people aren't aware of.
Yeah.
Which the tourism part's the one spending all these marketing dollars and saying beaches, Disney World, Disney that, so it's not surprising that's the picture.
Country, but if you want to go hang out at the beach, go to the beach. Like it's kind of a cool combo.
Yeah. It's like country with flip-flops.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's Florida, man. It's wild.
It was good. Nice weather. We've been there before. Went there last year about the same time. And I don't know, 78, beautiful.
Yep. Did it rain every day?
It didn't rain this time. There was one day. It was the day we left.
Okay.
And then sometimes I think a little bit at night.
Yeah.
It did. And then it was a little bit dewy and wet in the morning, but shoot.
Well, one of my buddies just a couple weeks ago went down to Disney World. And he's
Okay.
like, man, it rained every single day. But I have family down in the Fort Myers area, so not too far from where you guys were at. And he's a big golfer. And I'm like, well, look, the forecast says raining. And he goes, oh, come on. It rains every day. We're going. And,
Okay.
And just kind of blows in and blows out.
So it's funny you said that because some other people that were down there, they said the same thing. Oh, it rains. It's not a big deal. It'll pass. So it just must be like a Florida thing.
And like, yeah, being from Nebraska, you're getting rain today.
I know.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Which we're in the tail end of a 3-year historic drought right now. So
We had, it was a little drizzly or whatever, but nothing too crazy. And those guys that we work with down there, Jim, they primarily raise peanuts and cotton.
Okay, I was going to ask you that.
So that's what they're growing down there. It's kind of neat to just a different system, different type of deal.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
not your typical corn, you know?
Or soybeans.
Yeah.
And then in the central, if you want to call it that, part of the state, that's sugar country. That's where a lot of United States sugars cultivated, I think. It's kind of one of those first dominoes when we start bickering with trade.
Oh, right.
You know?
Yeah.
It's the old sugar domino.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big story. Maybe we'll tackle that if we can get one of your Florida guys up here. I
wouldn't be surprised.
I'd be tuned into
Yeah,
that.
I think he'll probably come up before long.
Cool.
You think?
I would like that.
That would be sweet.
Yep. He's a good dude.
He needs to
Couple
bring
good
some
dudes
of
down
his
there.
stuff. Andy Ben got a little bit fried too.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, I got burnt.
I already mentioned to you, you look like a little sun-kissed, right?
Right.
And I saw some of your pictures on social media. I'm like, man, Ben looks pretty white, you know?
So his top half, I've come to the conclusion spray sunscreen is great, but it really doesn't work for this man and probably lots of other people. Like Old School cream, I put all over his shoulders, upper half, face, and I was about to do his legs, and he's like, no, I got this. He's going to spray them.
Okay.
So from knees down, oh my gosh, and
Just
I'll have to
red.
show you pictures. Like, dude's feet were like he had cankles straight. I mean, it was so swollen.
Swelled up.
Don't mess around with that Florida sun.
It was
No?
weird, but two other people got burnt too, and the same thing. Their feet were just massive.
Yeah.
Like you needed to pop them and shit was going to come out. Like that's what it was like. He would push on it
Yeah.
and the dent in his skin stayed for like 2 minutes.
And it'd be like really bright white,
Yeah.
and it'd slowly go back to form.
It's called capillary refill. And my capillary refill was trash.
I mean,
Pretty trashed.
we're talking.
You weren't trashed.
One night
down in
we
Florida. Just
Maybe sometimes.
a little bit. There.
maybe yeah. We just laughed like it's just something we've never experienced, and maybe that's something you can get here. But you've been burnt many times because you're just by nature paler.
Just
I
think
don't
about
know.
how sensitive your bodies are to the environment. And the way to think about it is like when you walk into a house that has an actual cedar tree for a Christmas tree, that smell just hits you, right?
Yeah.
And like you can't even stand. Like, how do you live here? You know, how can you stand? And then in 2 minutes later, your body adapts and you're used to it.
Yeah.
Well, just take your body. You're gonna have the same type of scenario. Your body's gonna react. And
Yeah.
everybody's a little different.
Totally.
So.
Yeah.
Especially as we keep getting older, man.
Yeah. A little slower to
Yeah.
bounce back, recover.
Yeah. And I
all
feel like
that.
as I get older, I'm paler.
Wow.
You know, like some people we went with. So we went with a bunch of other people. Some people spray tanned. Some people actually went to the tanning booth so then they wouldn't burn. Not a bad idea.
No, not at all. That's what we did that before the wedding.
cruise? You did?
We all tanned. I've never thought once to go to a tanning booth or tanning salon.
You
whatever.
didn't back in the day for prom or homecoming?
No.
I'm kidding. That's just a girl thing, I think.
But I feel like it saved us, and we did it again because we went to Mexico last year for a fun little vacation, and I'm like, yeah, that's the ticket. Go a couple
Kinda like
couple
prime-
tanning sessions. Yeah,
Prime your skin a little bit.
that's right.
Yeah.
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 Get it ready for that. So if you do forget to lather up or whatever, you won't pay the price as bad.
I know, right? Speaking of the weather here is nice.
It is. It's very nice right now.
It's getting nicer.
And
Not too bad.
yeah, we were talking about weather down in Florida and then coming back, and I thought this would be a kind of a cool opportunity to actually do an episode over Nebraska weather.
Okay.
Because like everybody talks about it. And for the most part, everything you hear is true. Is it windy? Yes. Is it like really, really hot? Yes. It's very, very hot. And you're looking at negative 10 degrees sometimes for a high in the winter. But our average temperature is right there at 72 degrees. So,
and you were the weather guy on the radio station.
I was the weather guy.
If anyone caught a couple episodes ago, you did like a awesome like weather forecast, didn't he?
Yeah.
Today it's going to be sunny with didn't you do that?
Like that?
Oh yeah. I gave the rundown. The weather hit that I'd have to give like 3 or 4 per hour. In between the country music being played, and that story got brought up because I'd I'd always be about an hour ahead, and it was clear skies, very low wind, no chance of precipitation. And that played while it was snowing outside. It was actually snowing. And I mean, that wasn't anywhere in the forecast. And it's like, that's not my fault. Like I was using the best up to the minute, information that was given to me at that time.
Right.
But in 1 hour, it changed so much so there's just big old, fluffy snowflakes just falling. And it ended up being about an inch of snow falling out.
Yeah.
So, but there's a reason for that, and it makes a lot of sense if you think about it, and it makes a lot of sense like what you're talking about. There's rain every day in Florida.
Okay.
If you just take a step back and think about it for a while, So, should we dive into Nebraska weather?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All righty. Well,
educate us.
Here's a real quick breakdown of why things are so crazy. The air across, the planet Earth moves toward higher pressure areas, causing a northern air to move south down towards the equator. So it's coming from high elevation down. As the cold northern air collides with warm winds moving up from the Gulf of Mexico, in our case, the result is at least one of the reasons for unpredictability in the weather across Nebraska. So we are the meeting point of those cold winds out of Canada meeting the warm winds out of the Gulf of Mexico.
So it's like they just collide.
They collide here, and that's why we have tornadoes. That's why we have bomb cyclones. That's why people say, well, if you don't like the weather in Nebraska, just wait an hour. It's true. It can change that fast.
Yeah.
And a big reason it can change so fast is because we're not protected by a mountain range. We don't have a big body of water. We don't have an ocean or a coastline next to us that will really stabilize the temperature.
Okay.
And it's very wide open land from the Gulf of Mexico all the way up to Nebraska and also all the way down from Canada. Think of South Dakota or North Dakota when you're just driving straight up to Canada, to go fishing or something. It's just wide open, sprawling ground. And it's the same in all 4 directions around Nebraska. So there's nothing to stop those high winds. Like, let's say there is there's a lot of tornadoes down in Florida, but tornadoes or hurricanes, something like that, beating up the coast down there. We're going to receive those winds, and there's not much standing in the way of that. And the same can be said for severe weather happening north of us. It's just got this direct path, basically a wind tunnel, and that's another, call it a wind tunnel, but with those mountains being over there in Colorado, it doesn't allow these winds to disperse west of us. It just keeps it right down. So it makes sense that, of course, we're going to have this crazy type of weather when we have a high pressure, cold wind meeting a low pressure, extremely warm wind all the time across the state.
And you've got that, I'm no meteorologist, but you've got that jet stream or whatever they call it, excuse me, that kind of comes through here. And that was like played out in front of the world here recently with that Chinese balloon.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's kind of what they set it out on.
Yeah, so it'll go across the United
So
States.
And then it caught that
Yeah.
jet stream and made its way all the way around, in whatever direction that was until it got to whatever it was, North Carolina or South Carolina coast. And then I guess we took it out, but
Our news guy at that radio station actually went and snapped a photo of it right outside Nebraska City.
there you go.
He did?
Yeah, that balloon you're talking about.
Yep.
Yeah, but north or south. We're just right here where these high winds or low winds, whatever the case may be, are going to meet up. And it's that way all the time. And you see the most severe action or things going on during the spring and fall. So that's why our springs are just always so wild.
Yeah, and maybe it's common in other parts of the country, but I feel like if you meet somebody or you're just sitting around, you're having coffee, you're having drinks, whatever it is, weather is going to be a topic of conversation.
Yeah.
Always.
Every time. It's like, oh man, this weather we're getting right now, but next week it's supposed to look good, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And everyone kind of plans around it.
Right.
And I think especially since we're so agriculturally focused in this area, it has a huge bearing on how things are going to go.
Yep.
So it's constantly watched.
Oh, yeah. More so than maybe other places. Or like in California, you can just always count on, hey, it's going to be in the 80s. It's just going to be kind of a
That's
nice
what I was going to
day,
say.
kinda
Do
sunny.
you think other states are thinking the exact same thing that we are, and we're like, oh, it's Nebraska thing? I mean, no. Yes.
I think we just have so many more fluctuations.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
So it's like people say like, oh, I like to have the seasons. I enjoy the seasons.
Right. I do.
That basically means like one extreme to the other at different times of the year,
Okay.
rather than just kind of that mellow, middle of the road, easy going. You get a little bit of rain maybe. You might have some severe weather events here and there, but not much. And everything's pretty predictable.
But that's a fantastic point as well. And it's one of the things that I've grown to just always love Nebraska is that we get a more true sense of the seasons than basically anywhere. We talk about being protected from oceans. Yeah, we're right in the center of the United States, and there's this open windway from all different directions. So in the summer, those south hot winds from down south take over. During the winter, those really cold north winds take over.
Yeah.
So like we have a more true picture in Nebraska, Iowa, Kansas of the seasons than really anywhere else, maybe on the planet, as far as it snows in the winter, it's really hot in the summer, and then everything in between. It's rainy, in the springtime.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. It and like I said, it has such a large effect on the production around here. Because here in eastern Nebraska and western Iowa, we're what they call is that it's not being artificially irrigated. So we don't have the irrigation systems, the pivots running around, or the flood irrigation, or whatever in these areas. So the crops that we grow depend on the weather bringing moisture, bringing the heat events that we need. All those kinds of things for it to grow. So. We are extremely dependent on that weather doing its thing every year. And traditionally it does. I mean, you see year in and year out, in one way or another, we usually get all the things that we need to build a good crop.
So you're saying you don't think it's trended any different than in the past?
We don't even
starting, because I feel like maybe I just missed it as a kid. I never remember it being as windy as I do now as an adult. But again, that's a kid mind. Probably didn't matter.
Right.
So I'm just wondering if Nebraska weather, you think,
as
started
a kid,
changing.
I 100% remember it being windy.
You do? Okay.
Yeah.
So you lived more rural.
But also the reason I remember that is what stuck in my mind was, well, number one, we spent a lot of time outside. But number two, playing sports, and in particular, I played a lot of soccer. Soccer in the wind freaking sucks.
Yes, it does.
So with a damn place.
True.
And that would just be how it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or like trap shooting as an example. Joel's doing that now. Same thing when I was a kid. A day of trap shooting with heavy winds sucks
That
because
would be miserable.
You can't predict what the clay's going to do.
Yeah.
And it was always that, and always has been.
Okay, so it's probably stayed the same.
And that's where I was going to go with it. Like, we don't even have a good enough grasp as to like what kind of a timeline are you talking about?
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
Who knows? But yeah.
As a kid, I felt like I remember it snowing a lot more, and maybe
we had more snow days. But that was.
But the snowiest day that I ever remember in my life was, I think, my freshman year of college in Peru, Nebraska.
Oh,
in southeast Nebraska. I mean, it dumped like 2 feet of snow within 2 weeks, and it just stayed there. and it stayed for a long, long time. And so all the kids that were transfers in and new freshmen from other states, they all transferred out after that. So where I was going with that is, like, we're talking about climate, and those are just very, very gradual changes
Yes.
over centuries.
Okay.
You know, so when we're talking about 20 years ago, 10 years ago, or even last year to this year, I don't think that's a fair enough. We see a lot of scare tactics like, oh, worst drought since the last one? Or what do you mean by that? And the more you look into climate change and how it's changed over, like, I mean, the deserts, they were the deepest parts of the ocean at one time on this planet. You know what I mean? So, like...
Well, and the truth is, as far as weather goes, and again, to take it back to farming, over the last 10 years, we've had record farming yields year after year after year. Yeah. And that is heavily influenced by the weather. It's also heavily influenced by the work that the seed providers are doing with the genetics and things like that, and being able to handle a little bit less moisture, or being able to handle
drought-resistant hybrids,
more wind damage, like these kinds of things. But the fact is that we've had a good weather pattern that has grown a really solid crop around here for at least the last 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, and I feel like you have a really good year, and we'll average, let's say a couple summers ago, we had 34 inches of rainfall, which is really good for Nebraska. Then that kind of like moves what you think it should be. No, that's just a really good year. You can't count on that every single year. And like these last 3 years, we've been in a drought. Anyway, where I'm from, northeast, north central Nebraska's in the middle of a D3, D4 in some parts type of drought. So, but that's not going to last forever. You know what I mean? I don't believe that. And in fact, I've seen some predictions that this is going to be a pretty good wet summer. And
really,
it's about time, right? You have 3 bad ones, time for a good one.
Yeah, right.
There you go.
So, we're talking about extreme weathers, and Nebraska has a lot of it. We're actually 5th on the list as far as tornadoes in each and every state.
Okay, I was going to say, well, list. What are you talking about? Really?
I mean, you'd think
5th?
You'd think would be 1 or 2. I would.
Yeah, it feels like we have a lot.
For
of
the
them.
most?
For the most, we average 57 tornadoes per year.
What?
And we're 5th. We're behind 4 other states. You want to take
I would have guessed it would have been higher.
I mean, I would, if I'm just guessing, I would guess other Midwestern states.
Yeah, Kansas.
Okay. But I feel like I'm going to get proven wrong.
Isn't that where Dorothy was from?
Yep,
Yeah.
Kansas. And that's also a really good book from back in the day. Night of the Twisters or something. That was a book based out of Kansas. Yep.
What would be your other guess?
I mean, the Dakotas.
What about, does Oklahoma?
Missouri.
You're 2 for 2, Morgan.
Damn.
Oklahoma, Kansas.
This one.
And Ben, you're exactly right. You're wrong.
Right, there you go. Boom.
The top 4 are Texas, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Florida.
What? Okay.
Florida
I wouldn't
averages
have
more
guessed Florida.
tornadoes than Nebraska. How about that?
Interesting.
So, and I'd have to dive into that. Like,
Well, that's
why
what I
is
was going to
that,
say. Why then what, with what you were saying, how the weather travels and we get the stuff, why are we getting tornadoes, and then why is Florida?
Well, I
in
just
Texas?
think of the awesome power of the ocean and how that's just there's just the Gulf Stream itself.
Okay.
So I bet that has something to do with it. It's also a gulf. One side of it's a gulf, the other side of the state, and it's a skinny state, is just like getting the entire Atlantic Ocean smashing on it.
You
And the
know,
other
some
side,
like meteorologist is listening, and they're like, these douches.
Well, I bet we got to be
I'm
right to a
kidding.
certain extent.
I'm kidding.
I'm reading their work. By
You
the way.
are.
I am.
But like us talking about it, we're probably not even using the right terms.
Probably not.
I wonder what
it just makes me laugh when I
that
topography.
That Twister movie. Where were they at in that movie?
Kansas.
I think so. And the movie was called Twister, right?
Yeah, but I don't think they were. You're talking about like The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, we're back for the movie Twister. Ooh,
I don't remember.
I don't know.
I don't remember where they
Google
were.
it.
That was
Do they use those machines that they used then? Now?
I think that. Now I know that movie came under under heavy fire
It
from
did?
meteor. Oh yeah, they're like, that is so
I
fake.
didn't
That
know
is so wrong.
I liked it.
I did too.
Because there's storm chasers out there.
Oh,
Why
yeah.
wouldn't they launch something in
Yeah.
and have these flying little balls read a bunch of shit?
I
That
thought it was
is
fun.
brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, it made sense to me, but I mean, you could even think about like when the tornado blew over top of them and they're like looking up the center
Well,
of it.
of course. I mean, hello.
I mean, there's some pretty crazy pictures out there of like shocks of straw and pieces of grass. They're like embedded in the block of a tractor because the wind was so high that actually stuck through the block of the motor. Like, so and you're telling me just two people can just kind of sit through that,
Right, yeah. Yeah.
So, but it's a movie. It's for
If
entertainment.
you just
I
take
liked
your
it.
belt off and you strap yourself to a water pipe,
Right.
then you can hold on. It's all good.
You're all right.
Yeah.
Yep. But that movie was monumental because Dodge Ram. That was kind of, remember that they drove big black Dodge Rams, and Goo Goo Dolls. They were on the soundtrack back when movies had soundtracks, and that was kind of their coming out party too. They blew up after that.
Yeah, nice.
Long way down.
It
So,
says they were shooting in location in Oklahoma, but I'm not sure where the movie says.
Oklahoma would make sense.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of farm ground in there and flat areas and things like that. And I don't know, I just thought about this. Maybe this is what made you think about doing this episode, but it's, I think this week is like National Severe Weather Week or something like
It
that.
is?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
So even today on the radios and on our local, like alarms
Yep.
are going off. They're doing the testing, things like that. I assume everyone that's listening to this has something like
yeah.
that, like on a big pole, you've got a siren at the top of it, and it kicks off when there's a severe weather alert.
Even on the beach, they had like a red flag.
yeah,
one
but
of
I
the
mean
days.
these alarms are like iconic
Oh, okay.
in my mind. In my growing up, like you hear that thing go off, and you're like, oh shit.
Something's going on.
Is this a tornado's coming, or something like those things
Yeah.
are blaring.
Okay.
So they did a test today because it's like
Yep.
severe weather week or whatever. Have storm spotting training.
Really?
Ooh.
Yeah. So like,
Ooh,
If-
so he's going to be like the Twister guy.
yeah, it might be. I don't know.
You can't plan for it. You can't.
If there's some severe weather coming in, they'll dispatch all of us to go out in the trucks and go like set up post and just watch the skies.
Wait,
And then
Looking for funnel clouds
Really?
and stuff.
yeah, and then report back to dispatch. Hey, we're seeing this out here. Wind speed is blah blah blah, whatever, and they start trying to plan to basically protect the masses so that they can put out early warnings.
you
Yeah.
have to say what the wind speed is?
I mean, we'll try to measure whatever we can.
Well, that's
but
what
really,
I'm saying. What do you measure it with?
the majority of it is just visual. Like we'll just
Okay.
be out there like it's gotten really like here's where I'm sitting right now. It's gotten really extreme visibility.
My car flipped over.
Visibility is only 100 yards.
Okay,
Whatever.
I gotcha.
Last year we had a tornado come through.
Oh yeah.
You guys remember that?
Yep.
Yes.
And the station, the folks at the station were out spotting. I was down here working, and shit started hitting the fan, and I got in my truck and started driving back home. I don't remember what you were doing, but the kids were home because the trailer got all beat up and all that. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so I'm driving down the highway, and I've got my pager and all that. I'm listening to the guys reporting back to dispatch on what's going on. And there was one guy at this one particular location where the storm came through hard, and he was in his truck, and he claimed it was like spinning his truck around.
And it was right by our house.
Yeah.
And we had kids home by themselves.
And he couldn't see a thing, and he's on the radio yelling at the top of his lungs, and you can't barely even hear what he's saying because his truck's just getting pelted with hail, and it's whatever it is it's doing, and it's all beat to shit now, but he still drives it like regular.
His wife was in the background. We got cows.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
yeah.
So I mean that's a very real thing, We're out there, and then they're feeding that back, and then that info is getting used to figure out where people need to go and try to help people out. And we spent all night out there in all of the fire department equipment, just running around, checking houses, picking up down trees, making sure everyone was okay, blah blah blah.
Yeah, I actually got sent out to do a news blip on that right after it happened. So right after all those telephone lines and things got blown over, and I just pulled it up. by the book, 5 tornadoes touched down in this area, headlined by an EF2 at Beaver Lake, and peak winds hit 125 miles per hour.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that just gives you a taste
Strong.
of what can go on there.
Mm-hmm. And that's even like, you call it EF2 or whatever, like that's a small tornado.
Yeah. Isn't the biggest 5?
Something like that.
Yeah, I
I
think
mean,
so.
can you imagine?
Yeah.
No.
But what also made me think of this was, an episode we did when we kind of started the floods of 2019.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was all caused by an extreme weather event that all just came together in Nebraska in the worst way. And I believe they called it the cyclone bomb.
Yeah.
A bomb cyclone. Had
Yeah,
that
I remember
backwards.
that. Yeah.
Oh.
But a lot of things came together where you had a quick snow melt, not even in Nebraska per se, but all the heavy snowfall in Montana and Wyoming that feeds down to the Missouri River Basin and across all the different river systems that go across the state of Nebraska. They all had, for starters, a heavy snowfall that winter. Then you had a quick melt. And then you also had a severe winter in Nebraska where we didn't have a lot of cover, and we had, remember, the ground was all frozen.
Yep.
I mean, you're talking about
Yep.
like 12 inches deep in some areas. So this water couldn't get soaked up like a sponge like it usually does. It just flooded. It ran over
Yeah.
everything. And first responders couldn't get to do their thing, rescues and that type of nature, evacuations, because as that started to happen, if you remember this, we had a severe snowfall that turned into an ice storm. I mean, it was the worst of the worst of the worst.
That was bad.
I did a documentary over it for the channel.
Okay.
And got some DVDs too. So
That's right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
forgot about that. Yep.
yeah, so those are some scary stories. Some ranchers up in my area were trying to like save their cattle and their calves because it was calving season, And one guy drove his tractor out because his truck couldn't make it anymore. It was already flooded that much. And then as he was driving back in his tractor, like a Farmall H or a 656, something like that, the water came up so high it drowned his motor there too. So he's just stuck on top of a tractor holding a calf. Like, give me a break, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's scary stuff.
Yeah.
Some of the ice chunks that were the dam next to us, they said compromised. It got busted. The whole dike blew out. So that
Yep.
sent like a tsunami type wave just
Yep.
down the Missouri River.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just
I
phenomenal.
remember all that. That was scary.
Show you some of these ice chunk pictures if
Those-
you turn that around. But
Those ice chunks were big
Insane.
enough and like damaging enough that they were like slicing in half grain bins,
yeah,
cutting them open, spilling all over the place.
I'm looking at one right here that's honest to God, the size of a 3-car garage. The guy's just standing next to it, and it looks like it's about 4 foot thick, and that's just roaring down the river, a flooded river. And he took this picture 2 miles away from the river's channel. This is a Missouri River pic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it was, it was that way across the entire state.
Yeah.
And it was all due to what we were talking about, the possibility of extreme weather always being able to happen here, and
Yeah.
things can just turn on a dime.
So have you heard any predictions of, you said it's going to be a wet summer? Is that what you said?
That's what I've heard.
Okay.
But it also makes a lot of sense in that something has to happen because, we've been going through a drought the last 3 summers.
Yeah.
So, I think it's due.
Okay.
my astute prediction.
Yeah. Do you
But,
think
yeah.
that Farmer's Almanac, people still use that and it really comes true?
Well, they still talk about it at the coffee
Okay.
shop.
Ben?
I've
hear
never
guys talking about it?
followed it that close, but I do hear a lot of people talking about it, and I get the impression that it's fairly accurate, but
Okay. I just never really looked at one, so
yep, I couldn't speak on that.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's really the gist of what I wanted. I just kind of wanted to shed some light on,
Yeah, it's good.
people always want to say, well, isn't Nebraska really windy or isn't Nebraska really hot? Isn't Nebraska always cold? Yes.
It's all of the above.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is,
And 100%. And in reference to what you were talking about earlier with the storm and those kinds of things, we'll be following up with these folks. But if you go back to episode 7, that's where there was an interview done with the family that was directly affected by that.
Yeah.
And
What's the
it's,
date on that?
It looks like it's in March of 22.
Okay.
So it's one of the early ones.
Last year. Yeah.
Yep. And I was just talking to them last week, actually, where we're going to try to do a follow-up so we can kind of hear where they're at today, but they just got their teeth kicked in, along with a lot of other people did too. But
Absolutely.
it gives you a little bit more of a glimpse into kind of what went down there.
Yeah.
But-
And I'll try and dig up some of those DVDs. Maybe we can give some of those away.
That'd be cool.
You know,
Yeah.
like if, are we still going to do the people write in, give us a review on Apple Podcasts?
100%.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, if you have that.
and if
you-
they would like to see that, have a DVD, I think I got like 15 or 20 of them or so left
Really?
over.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't know if I've even seen it, so.
it's,
Hey, we'd love to have people go on, do this, what you think,
Yeah.
and that's on Apple. And you can like click the stars or whatever. And then in Spotify is a star thing. I don't think you can leave notes, but go on there and do that.
5-star.
Yeah. And anybody that does that, if they'll send me a message that says you've gone and done that, ben@farmfocused.com, you'll get some free gear. We'll shoot it your way.
I was thinking, I should have asked you this before we recorded. Could someone sometimes people just want to Instagram you instead of an
Sure,
email?
they go
Because
on-
somebody,
yeah,
like, can you
on
just shoot it
the Farm Focus
Instagram? Yeah.
IG page, sure. No
Yeah.
sweat.
I just
Yep.
was thinking maybe sometimes that might be easier rather than getting to your computer,
Right.
Yep.
sending an email.
A DM.
Okay.
So yeah.
Sounds good. All right. Well, that was fun.
Yeah.
It's a good day. It's a good weather day.
Yes, it is. It is a good weather day, right?
Yeah.
Sun shining. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can't complain.
All right.
That's
well,
it.
Hope the weather's good where you're at.
Yes, we do.
All right.
All right.
Peace.
Later.